Obasanjo got over 90% of the votes in the entire Southeast. That's why the fact that our own revered leader, Ojukwu, was contesting. Nobody shouted at anybody. Nobody said, I won't do business with the Yorubas or with the Northerners or with anybody. He failed in the Yoruba land. But we gave him more votes in the Southeast, even when our own revered leader was contesting. Nobody quarreled with it. We have Yoruba people who live in the East. Don't think that is the only here. I can tell you now, nature where I live, two prominent people that I deal with are completely from the Southwest. And they were there. Nobody announced them. There were people doing their business who have the material right to vote whoever they want. And I can go back to history. In 2011, we voted for Jonathan. He got more votes in the Southeast than he got in South-South. When Abiola contested the election, he had more votes in the Southeast. Even when his vice presidential candidate is Muslim from Kanu, and from I don't know where King Ibe came again, maybe from the north, went too far. Had an Igbo man as vice presidential candidate, a respected Igbo man, yet Abiola won. And when that election was annulled, go and check the principal and people who actually lost more in Nedeko. It is the Igbos who lost more in Nedeko. It is the Rafobians of this whose business were ruined. Go and check it. So when people bring what is not there, so who are those who voted for me in Abuja? Were the Igbos? Nobody got 25% in Abuja among the two parties. Is it the Igbos who voted for me in Jos, in Plateau? Is it the ones in Nasarawa? Is it the Igbos in Occupy Nasarawa? The governor of Nasarawa said I won't get 10% of the votes in Nasarawa. The governor of Kaduna said I won't get 2,000 in Nasarawa. In Kaduna, I got 300,000. So let us not, at 300,000 Igbos in Kaduna. So where does this start? It's just people. I'm appealing to people for the interest of Nigeria. Today, we have a Pakistani as mayor of London, an Indian as prime minister. And they are doing far better than we're doing. In this place that is not even working, we're still trying to divide ourselves based on, and that's what we're trying to remove. It is this rascality, it is this structure we're trying to remove that brings this hatred, which we must remove in this system. So that the system can work. When people can no longer compete based on character, competence, compassion and capacity, they resort to ethnic, religious, and be shouting, oh, Peter campaign on religion, oh, Peter campaign on, but they are the ones doing it. I've never in any way told anybody in any church, in any gathering, vote for me based on this. I've said it, do not vote for Peter to be based because of this party is from the Southeast. People voted for me on the issue of somebody being young and modern. It's laughable. It's actually, we should actually stop it from being old and contest. If I have my way, if we can retire our bishops at 70, retire our professors at 70, Supreme Court at 70, it's time we put age for this our politics so that people can also retire. Because there's a reason why we say at 70, 75, people should go and rest. So let us, is these people that are saying it that are bringing confusion? Age of 40 is age where people are becoming or became president in America. the world's biggest economy, 25 trillion, and you're just 400 billion. And you're talking about age. That is the right age, the right background, the right education.
We've been talking about the presidential election. But your party, despite the criticism that you had no structure, you had no representation in the National Assembly, ended up getting into the National Assembly. 6 seats in the Senate, 34 in the House of Representatives. I would like you to comment on that. And then second, this issue of INEC not allowing you access to inspect election materials. Now, Yusuf Tanko, the spokesperson, chief spokesperson of your party, has now served notice that INEC was duly served a CTC copy of the court order on March 3. INEC was reminded on March 6, and that the only option now available to the Labour Party is to picket to INEC offices nationwide in a peaceful protest, he says. But has it also occurred to the party to seek the option of going back to court to make it clear to court that INEC is guilty of contempt, is contemptuous of the court order, or the only measure you want to adopt is that of the peaceful street protest to INEC offices? Those two issues.
Thank you, Dr. Abati. We'll apply both. Because you have a situation where you cannot even match. You know, INEC is an institution passed by law. The court have given an order, a ruling. They are not obeying it. Where do we start to build a nation? The most important ingredients of what makes a nation is rule of law. And I've said it when I was campaigning, that we must govern by rule of law. Ruben, the biggest contributor to the Western economy today, in terms of GDP, in terms of their growth, is intangible assets called rule of law. The reason why people want to live in America, in Britain, in anything, is not because things that happen here don't happen, but because if it happens, you can seek redress in court and it will be obeyed. It's because if you call police, it will, nothing else. Nothing else. I have somebody who told me an interesting story. He said he had a wife in Nigeria, and he would shout at his wife, do whatever he likes, and then suddenly something happened and he went to the UK and he shouted and the wife called police, and police came and he was still shouting in front of police, and the police told him that he shouldn't come near one mile radius of his house because of the way he's behaving.
He didn't remind them that he paid down as a Nigerian.
He told me, said, all he wants is to go back to Nigeria with his wife. Why? It's law. And that's what we are lacking here. Ruben, we must live in a society that is organized. Today, with the way Nigeria is, considering how bad things are economically, what the world expected of us in 2023, there was so much expectation, is to have free, fair, and credible election where the new government will come to start. When you talk about people say low-hanging fruit. The number one low-hanging fruit here is to start governing by rule of law. If you start it, you start changing this country. And that I'm committed to. And I'm urging INEC to please help the country. The image of the country today our strategic importance in Committee of Nations is being put into question by all this rascality.
National Assembly elections and how
For
you
me-
intend to leverage on
For
that
me,
victory.
is I thank God that we were able to get the number of seats we received. I hosted the candidates after they received their certificate and urged them to know that we are committed to a new Nigeria and we must do things differently. We must support what is right. We must go there to work hard and everything. And I'm sure they will. We also said we'll have a retreat after this. Ruben, the things we need to do going forward for Labour Party, for them, we need to build a democratic institute that will be able to teach people what their job is all about and what they're expected to do. It is not just you've won an election, it is now time for you to be part of the confusion that exists, to be make it transactional. We now want to leverage and talk. We're talking with different organizations, different countries that can help us to build a proper democratic institution that will teach our people, including me, what governance is all about.
All right, great point. Now, I just want to ask, following that, you received or you hosted the 40 Labour candidates who emerged winners for the National Assembly elections. So people have asked the question, or some of your critics have asked, not the same process as with the presidential election, because you're saying that what you're going to court for is to challenge the process by which the president-elect was declared winner. So is it the same? Why have you accepted the results of the National Assembly elections in favor of the Labour Party candidates and not accept the same process, as it were, that also had the president-elect emerge as winner? And the second part of the question as well is that there are also questions around your support of gubernatorial candidates. So a case in point is in Enugu, where you have Chijioke Edoga and Frank Oweke Jr. of ABGA Party. There seems to be some, lack of agreement in your party as to who to support in that state. I'd just like you to clarify that today.
Okay, very, very good question. Let me tell you in Enugu, let me start with the issue of Enugu. The issue of Enugu is because the Aisha Yusuf tweeted in support of Frank Oweke. Let me clarify to you now. The obedient movement are not necessarily Labour members. You have to know that. There's so many people in the obedient movement who have nothing to do with Labour Party. There's so many groups within that. There's so many people. Someone like Aisha Yusuf is not a member of Labour Party. And it says so. And however, we even have what we call the big tent, which is where everybody is gathered. I have people who are supporting me today as a presidential candidate who have nothing to do with Labour Party. People like Atido Peter Side, for example. And I have many people of that they believe that I can do this job. And I'm sure there's so many of them in their rise who are not members of Labour Party, but they believe in what I'm doing. So they have right to also choose who they want to support. Based on what I said, it's a choice. But as a Labour Party, which I'm a member, and again, the party is far more prim than any individual. I'm just a member of Labour Party. Labour Party have chosen through this process that is verifiable and straightforward. Chijioke Edoga is our candidate. And that I stand with, because I'm a member of Labour Party. The obedient members of obedient family have their own choices. I can't question them. So that's the difference. So let's do. And then on the second question you asked about issue of whether National Assembly, they're not. Remember, inec said House of Representative was going from the through to the server, as rep was going through, but it's only presidential. So, by that, they have defined a process. They have accepted a process. We are in their law. In the other two, they follow that process. In this one, something happened. They gave an excuse. We shouldn't be there. Because they know what they're doing.
Okay. So let's come to Lagos. What's your support like for the Labour Party governorship candidates in Lagos? And also, there's been a dichotomy. In fact, at some point, they were saying there was going to be a possibility of the PDP, Labour Party, and a couple of other parties doing a deal in Lagos, but that has not fallen through now. There's also the Jandor factor. Jandor has been saying he's fought, godfatherism with the APC and all of that, that he was thinking, this was the time of the PDP. He's come here to argue a couple of times that most of the votes you got in Lagos were also PDP votes. I mean, what do you say about that dichotomy vis-a-vis your own Labour Party candidate in Lagos? Another question I'd like to ask you is this. In this our country where rule of law has been put on the background, that people don't even obey court judgment again. It might sound like a funny question, but in a case where a court judgment gets in your favor, maybe in the Supreme Court, and it's not obeyed, what happens? Because that's the kind of dichotomy and anarchy we've put on the land. And this your newfound friendship with the PDP. Are you people challenging this together? Have you been talking to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar? What have you people been saying to each other? Because both of your vice presidential candidates had a joint press conference together.
Well, let me say this. There's no partnership between Labour Party and the PDP. Both of us are challenging a process that is wrong. That is acceptable. The process is wrong, and we're challenging it because we're all participants. It's like there's several people are involved in a competition, and it goes wrong, and they come together and say, you haven't. There's so many court challenges all over the world where maybe if you see the abroad where somebody have raped one woman, he went to court, several others who were raped by the same man comes out. They're not acting jointly, but because they have been a victim of the same man.
But both of you are saying you won the election. No, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is saying you won the election. You two are saying you won the election.
No problem. That is why we want to check the process. It is not the process that will say who actually rightly received the highest number of rightful votes cast in the said election. Because what is important is who received the highest number of rightful votes cast in the election and who has the spread. So if we do the right things, this is what we are claiming now is because of the confusion that was deliberately created by INEC. If they had done the right things, we won't be here. Nobody will be arguing. Like I said, I have my respect for Atiku. My respect for him remains as long as I live. He's a respected elder brother.
You've been speaking to him?
Of course.
As regards this election?
No, not as regards the election, but any other issue. We have always remained close. He's my respected elder brother. On the issue of Nigeria, we are two different candidates. I'm committed to a new Nigeria, committed to doing things different. And my commitment is total. But my commitment does not in any way affect my respect for him or Tinubu. I will remain respectful to them. On the issue of Lagos, the Labour candidate in Lagos remains the best candidate. Is through a thorough negotiation from a family that everybody is well known. His educational background, his age, everything is not in question. And he has the right age and the right energy. And I support him 100%. So do I do whoever Labour candidate that will be choosing through the right process. I told you here that we don't have candidates everywhere. We have maybe 5, 6, or 7 candidates, and I support them. Wherever you see me not supporting a candidate, Labour Party, especially our chairman, must have maybe worked with them in partnership or somehow to be able to achieve what we achieved in the last election. And Labour as an institution is bigger than me. And I respect and take the ratings of the chairman. Because we want to build institutions so it will work. Even if I'm the leader, I believe in the institution. And I must respect the institution. That's some of the rascalities I saw in other parties that makes it not work. Because people think they're bigger than the party. I'm not bigger than Labour Party. Labour Party remains bigger and also whatever directive. So I assure you we support GRV, and I can tell you he's a fantastic candidate.
Okay, Mr. Obi, here is a friend of yours. I don't want to name him on television. Responding to the point you made about age. Maybe you want to clarify that. He says, remind Peter that if he's going by age, at 63 years, he himself isn't qualified. We should be talking about credibility and the characteristics of leadership, irrespective of age.
63 years. Who is 63?
Well, that's what he's saying about you. I'm just reading what he sent to me. He said, it's not about age. The task of nation building is a mutual responsibility between the young and the old. The old contributing experience and maturity, and the young collaborating with audacity and diversity. In the USA, that he quotes, the use of age as a criterion for any job is considered discriminatory, just like religious and gender discrimination. So Peter Obi is out of place using age against his co-contestants. That's what this person said.
Remember when I quoted age, I wasn't talking about myself. Remember?
Yes,
I didn't say so. They asked me that if somebody said 40 years is too young for Lagos State.
Yeah.
That was when I said that people who are talking about age, and it's them that are above 75 should actually retire. But let's not compare age in the US and here. Please. Ruben, in the US, life expectancy is 72.5 years. In Nigeria, life expectancy is 64. So at 70, you've actually passed 16 years. Your life expectancy. Yes, we should have gone. So, and some of these people who are saying this have contributed why people are dying, where we have high infant mortality. So let us not compare the two. It's not the same society. Life expectancy, somebody who is 8 in America is different from somebody who is 80 here. So you cannot compare the two of them. I'm not going to go into life expectancy, but I assure you, I'm not 63 years old, Ruben, as maybe right, maybe wrong. My affidavit letter, which I secretary alarm my mother gave me since 1970, is that I was born in July 19th, 1961.
On what market day was it?
So if anything is wrong,
For the benefit of the man asking the question.
if anything is wrong, I hold my mother responsible. But she's been a wonderful woman. I didn't have the privilege of my father giving me any, so it's my mother who gave. So if you follow it, Ruben, I'm still going to be 62 in this July. So I'm not excluding, I'm not comparing the age, all that. But I assure you of my commitment is, and I listened to what he said, we need experience of age. But the age and the old have not used that experience. Rather, what they are doing is claiming experience in failure. They've not used it to progress the place. Rather, they tell you, do you know I've been doing this for 30 years? And so what? The place failed. How can you claim experience in failure? If you have been doing it for 30 years and we're in this mess, then you should actually cover yourself in shame. Not saying I've been around for 20 years. Thereby, it's my entitlement. No. You have to claim entitlement where things are progressing, where things are going well. And that's what it should be.
Okay. Now, one of the reasons why the age conversation has come up, particularly with Gbadebo Rodzvaibo in Lagos State, is also looking at his political experience. So beyond just his biological age, what some people have said is that he doesn't have that political heritage. He doesn't have that experience in governance and public service. I'd like you to speak to that, please, because it's beyond age. It's also the fact that, so you talked about the fact that he went to MIT, fantastic, Ivy League school. However, they're saying that if you're going to, govern a diverse, cosmopolitan city like Lagos, you would need more than an MIT certificate. What do you have to say to that?
Which experience? When you talk about experience, my sister, when I was campaigning to be governor of Anambra State, I've never worked in government. I've never had anything to do with government. I was faced with the same thing. I was his age. I started campaigning in 2003. 2001, I was just 39. By the time that the election took place, I was 41, 42. So I was at that age. And it was the same thing. People were saying, hey, who is he? He has never worked in government before. He has not done this before. The only experience they can claim is the same experience of corruption, experience of stealing, experience of doing the wrong thing. In fact, at times it's good to bring somebody who doesn't have that experience so he can clean up the mess. I came in without that experience. And when they wanted to teach me the experience, I told them they are wrong. I recall telling my people to ask me, when will government of Anambra State have a lodge in Abuja? They said, because every state have it. I said, well, we can't. The governor doesn't live in Abuja, so shut it down. When will this one happen? When is government going to have 18 guest houses? They say because that's the government, because you have guests. These are things we shut down and made us have the money to do the work. So the experience they have is the experience I'm trying to do. That's the structure that I'm telling you about. What you saw challenging now is the structure. We are saying we have no structure, we have no structure. That's the experience. As far as I'm concerned, he's at the right age, the right energy, the right educational background. Whatever there is, everything is lacking. Because of his exposure and everything, he will be able to read it. A job of a leader is always listening and learning. Okay. And I did that, and we succeeded. Listen to the people, do what they want, prove your integrity, and look at your background, where you're coming from. Remember that if you steal, it's going to show in the alumni listen of MIT, and you're not a thief.
Okay, real quickly, so just to get it clear, you were born in 1961, that means you're going to be 62 this year.
Yeah.
Secondly, I'd like to ask, what is now the level of your relationship with Governor Soludo of Anambra State? Because we remember the brouhaha about the letter that was written then. We remember all that transpired. And the fact that the words were, oh, you are not prepared, you are probably going to hinder, the Igbo chance and things like that and all of that. And what's your reaction to people that call you an Igbo presidential candidate?
I win only 2 states. I win only 2 states.
You said you win only 2 states. Yes, but you've won more than 2 states today and you're challenging further. So what's your reaction to all the things Governor Soludo said? And what would you like to say to Governor Soludo now if he's watching with all of this that has happened?
First is that Governor Soludo remains number 1, my respected elder brother. Always. He's my governor, so I respect him as my governor. And I always remember in prayers that he governed the state very well, because at the end of the day, I live in Onitsha. If anything goes wrong, it affects me directly. So I always remember him in my prayers, and I always wish him well. We never had any agreements. His political understanding or his stand does not in any way affect me with family and will remain family. And I will never in any way make comments, everything. Whatever what he said, like I said when he said it, that he's a professor and a trader. So two of us have different ways of reasoning. You can't expect a professor, a trader to be thinking like a professor. Neither will a professor, but that's where we are. So there's no problem between the two of us. We are friends and we remain so.
Well, for this,
on the other, what you mentioned about the issue of age, I'm not against age. If you're 70 and you're healthy and everything, I only said age should not be used, especially to talk about inexperience. I'm also saying that age at certain times should be used to say you can no longer physically, because the job requires physical energy. I can tell you, when I ask those who know me very well, I used to go travel to London and back here 3 times in a week. I arrive in the morning, come back in the evening, arrive in the morning, come back in the evening. Today is not possible. I was doing it when I was 30s, up to 40. Today, I probably need to break it. So if I get to 70 something, it won't be the same thing. If there's anybody who can move anywhere, I went to not just 36 states when I was campaigning, I went to over 100 places. If I go to your state, which state are you?
Ogun State.
Thank you. Go. I'm the only person who went beyond one. Listen, if I go to Ogun, I'll visit another place. If I went to Oyo, I went to Ogbomosho. I went to Oyo State. I went to Adamawa. I was in Numa. I was in Mubi. I was in Medugri. I was in Biu. I went to Edo. I was in Auchi, Uron, and it was possible. The other candidates can do the same thing. They can knock themselves. It has to do with physical energy.
well,
And it's important.
we have to begin to wrap up now.
Thank
There's
you.
just one more thing for you to respond to. There's something circulating on social media over the weekend that you were a member of the Association for Better Nigeria that supported the annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election. And they've been passing it. In fact, if you circulate it, it will say forwarded many times. So were you with Aton Zerebe, who led that movement at that time?
In 1993, Ruben, I lived in England. I had nothing to do with politics. I'm not even, in 1993, my business was between here and the UK. I was living in England with my family. You know, if you want to know, my son was born in 1993, December. I'm going to check his birth certificate. He was in England. Today, go and check it very well. So my daughter, go and check. There were primary schools in England. They can have little people who are in primary schools in England. And I'm in Nigeria, doing better Nigeria. Well, my wife lives there. So who are they living with? So the people do all sorts of things. I was not involved in politics. Never even voted as at that time. You know, I was actually probably a businessman contributing to building a better Nigeria, involved in supporting Nigerians in different areas. Just like I said, I supported Abiola when he contested because I listened to what he was doing, and I was doing so in my capacity in different ways. And when he failed, especially in Ndeko, there's other people who are involved in it, like Rafobia, whom I mentioned, or Leighton who will tell you they know me and everything. So I don't know what. Come with all sorts of lies there, they say, oh, he's doing. And I've said there shouldn't be any tension. People should go out and vote for Badebo. is the right candidate. And they go out and vote in other areas, even where I mentioned that if you have competent people in other parties, vote for them.
Okay, on that note, we'd like to thank you very much, Mr. Peter Obi, for joining us today on the